Good morning. This is Jayapriya from CSE Department, Assistant Professor, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. I am going to explain brute force attack in web security. Before that, we have to see what is cryptography. Cryptography is a way of securing informations. That is, we call it as cryptography. The word crypt means hidden, graphy means writing. That means we have to change our data into another format, that is cryptography. For example, we are sending the plain data. That data has to be transferred into, that means encrypted by using the key. Then it produces the data. That data we will call it as ciphertext. So that ciphertext is given to the input of the decryption process with the help of key. So in the receiver side, they will get the plain text. So this is the thing happening in this cryptography. Crypto means hidden, graphy means written. So we have to hide our data in any ways. That is cryptography. There are three types of cryptography. First one is secret key cryptography. Next one is public key cryptography. Next one is hash function. Secret key cryptography, here the sender and the receiver uses same functions. And in the public key cryptography, here they are using two different keys. And in the hash function, they are not using keys, they are using some other hashing techniques for protecting our data. So even though if you are protecting our data, the attackers trying to attack our data. There are two types of attacks: positive attacks, passive attack, and active attack. So these two types of attacks are there. So by hacking, the attackers trying to take our data. So we have to protect our data from the attackers. For that purpose, we are using so many methods. One of the method is brute force attack. So in this brute force attack, look at the diagram. So there is a automated tool is there. The attacker we will be using the automated tool to hack our password, something like this. The main thing is what is the attacker will do means attacker trying to get every possible keys, and they will try another method of trying is guessing the passwords. Not they don't know for sure, they will guess the password and they will use it. The last one is software tools. By using the software tools, they will take our data. That means steal our information. That is brute force attack. So look at the diagram. Attacker, they will use the automated tool to hack our data. So they are using multiple login attempts. Come to the next one. In a brute force attack, a threat actor tries to gain access to sensitive data and systems by systematically trying many combinations of usernames and guessed passwords as possible. Already we have seen it is trying every possible keys, guessing software tools. Trying every possible keys means if there is 0 to, for example, if the possible key is just think about 1-digit number, then how many possible ways are there? 10 possible ways. They will first try 0, next try 1, next try 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they are having 10 possibilities to take our data. To only within the 10 possibilities, they will accept our information. If our password is short, so if our password is one single digit, for the attackers easy to attack our data. That's why if you open our bank account, something like that, some confidential information, they will always suggest us to use strong password, use some special characters, something like that. They will suggest us to use the strong password. What the brute force attackers will do, they don't know the password for sure, but they can guess the passwords by trying all the possibilities. Sometimes they know if the keys are 3-digit number means they will try up to all the 3-digit numbers. What are the 3-digit numbers are possible, they will try. So only we have to keep our password, some special characters, some digits, some alphabets like that by this combination. So that's only brute force attack. The threat actor tries to gain access to sensible data and systems by systematically trying as many combinations of usernames and guest password as possible. If successful, the actor can enter the system and legitimate the user and remain inside until they are detected. So they will be in the system for a long time until the user can find. Some attackers can steal our data. Steal, that means if they, until they find, they will be using that data. So they use this time to move laterally, install backdoors, gain knowledge about the system to use in future attacks, and of course steal the data. They will steal the data. Brute force attacks have been around as long as there have been passwords. If we are using password, brute force attackers can also be there. They will be using for longer time. They not only remain popular but are on the rise due to shift to remote work. Based on this time, shift to remote work, that means we are, if the attacker is here but the user system is somewhere else, from the remote place also they can attack our data. So example, we will consider this example. Prior to the global COVID-19 pandemic, most employees worked in offices with infrastructures that were monitored by security controls. Now that so many employees are using their own devices and networks to connect to their corporate networks, attackers are focusing on remote desktop protocol and other remote access services as attack vectors. RDP is a particularly popular way to deliver ransomware such as mails, informations. Why hackers use brute force attack? Attack can use brute force attack to steal sensitive data, spread malware, hijack systems for malicious purposes, make website unavailable, profit from advertisements, reroute website traffic to commissioned ad sites, and infect sites with spyware in order to collect the data to sell to advertisers. Why they are stealing our information? To get the data, and they have to sell the data, they will gain some profitable. So for this purpose, attackers can attack our data. So how does a brute force attack work? How they will use our hack our data? Adversaries use automated tools to execute brute force attacks, and those lacking the skill to build their own can purchase them on the dark web in the form of malware kits. They can also purchase data such as leaked credentials. They can be used as part of the credential stuffing or hybrid brute force attack. This list may be offered as part of the package, in which the seller includes the list along with the automated tools, as well as other value adds such as manageable consoles. Once the attacker sets up their tools and sees them with the list, if relevant, the attacker begins. So they can use the password. So by most of the times they will guess the information, guess the passwords only. Types of brute force attack. Simple brute force attack, that means uses automation and scriptive to guess passwords. Typical brute force attack makes a few hundred guesses every second. Simple passwords such as those lacking of mix of upper and lower letters, number, and those use common expressions like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or password can be cracked in minutes. However, the potential exists to increase that speed by orders of magnitude. That means simple brute force attack. Simple brute force attack means most of the time, most of the users will keep their password as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For them, easy to remember. So at that time, they will only chances they will uppercase and lowercase only. They will use their names as their passwords. Otherwise, they will use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as the passwords. They can use them continuously. We don't use the words continuously. For keeping the name as the password for the attackers easy to identify. So we won't do like this. We won't keep the name as the password, something like that. So here, simple brute force attack, what they will do, typical brute force attacks makes a few hundred guesses every seconds. They are using some automated software tools, so they can guess some few hundred guesses every seconds. In a second, they will guess few hundred tools. So simple passwords such as lacking of mix of upper and lower cases, numbers, and those uses common expressions. Next, come to the dictionary attack. Dictionary attack tries combination of common words and phrases. Glitters. That is the common word. Phrases. No. So some common things they will keep their password. So this is the dictionary attack. So the dictionary attack, what they will do? Okay, something like the common words are there. So we have to attack like this. So then come to know. Originally, dictionary attack used words from the dictionary as well as the numbers. Some common words, phrases, they will use the words from the dictionary. But today, dictionary attacks can also use passwords that have been leaked by earlier data breaches. These leaked passwords are available for sale on the dark web and can even be found for free on the regular web. So dictionary software is available that substitutes similar characters to create new guesses. For example, the software will replace with a capital I or a lowercase a with an at sign. This software only tries the combination its logic says are most likely to succeed. So this is kind of attack, we call it as dictionary attack. So common, simply we will say it as common words and phrases. But in the simple brute force attack, they will use simple passwords. Only letters is there means only letters. Alphabets is there means only alphabets. Okay, something like that. For the attackers, it is easy for them. Next, credential stuffing. Over the years, more than 8.5 million usernames and passwords have been leaked. We all know, right? Most of the time they hacked my password like that. We will be used to tell. These stolen credentials are stored between bad actors on the dark web and used in everything from spam to account takeovers. A credential stuffing password, these stolen login combinations across a multitude of sites. Credential stuffing works because people tend to reuse their login names and password repeatedly. So if a hacker gets access to the person's account with an electric company, there is an excellent chance those same credentials will provide access to that person's online bank account as well. Gaming, media, and retail business tend to be favorite targets, but credential stuffing attacks are commonly launched against all industries. This is the credential stuffing. Next, reverse brute force attack. This is also another way of attack. In a regular brute force attack, the attacker starts with a known key, usually a username or account number. So if they know the account number, they will find the password. If they know the password, they will find the account number, something like that. Reverse them. They use the automation tools to figure out the matching password. We already saw they will be guessing, trying every possible case, then automation tools. They use automation tools to figure out the matching password. In a reverse brute force attack, the attacker knows the password and needs to find the username or account number. So if they know one, they are, for example, if they know the password, they will try to find the username. So this is the reverse brute force attack. Next, hybrid brute force attack. Hybrid brute force attack combines a dictionary attack and a simple brute force attack. So dictionary attack, we have studied a common phrases, and a simple brute force attack, so the password that should be in either for capital letter or small letter, or it should be in the number or should be in the character. Typically 4 on to their end of their password. So sometimes people will keep their password as name, then their year of birth. So 2001, something like that. So this is the typical password. Typically 4 on to end of their password. Those 4 numbers are usually a year that was significant to them, such as birth or graduation. So which year they got birth and which year they got the graduation. So this is the one they will keep it at the last. So the first number is normally a 1 or 2. So something the normal users will keep the password something like that. Next, reverse brute force attack. Attackers use the dictionary attack to provide the words and then automate a brute force attack on the last part. The 4 numbers, that means this is more efficient approach than using a dictionary attack alone or a brute force attack alone. Next. Password spraying. Traditional brute force attack tries to guess the password for a single account. That means if they are having more accounts, but they are using only one password for all the accounts. So why they are keeping the password like that? Okay, if I keep many password, I will forget it easily. For that purpose, they are spraying their password for all the accounts. Traditional brute force attacks try to guess the password for a single account. If you find the for a single account, it is easy to open the remaining account also. Password spraying takes the opposite approach and tries to apply one common password to many accounts. This approach avoids getting caught by lockout policies that limits the number of password attempts. Password spraying is typically used against targets with a single sign-on, that means SSO with a single sign-on, and cloud-based apps that use federated authentications. That means if we find only one password, then easy to find the other password. That is password spraying. Spraying the password to every account. Tools used for brute force attack. What are the tools used for brute force attack? Tools, many free are available on the open internet that work against a wide variety of platforms and protocols. Here are just a few. We will see. What are the tools available? AirCrackNJ. AirCrackNJ is a brute force Wi-Fi password tool that is available for free. It comes with WEP, WPA, WPA2, PSK cracker, and analysis tools to perform attacks on Wi-Fi. That means 802.11, and it can be used for any NIC that supports raw monitoring mode. That means by the name itself, we can say AirCrack. It will be useful for Wi-Fi password. AirCrack is a brute force Wi-Fi password tool that is available for free. Next one, Dave Grohl. It's a brute forcing tool for Mac OS. This is mainly for Mac OS that supports dictionary attacks. It has a distributed mode that enables an attacker to execute attacks from multiple computers on the same password hash. So it is a brute force tool for Mac OS, mainly for the Mac OS. It's a Hashcat. It is a CPU-based password cracking tool available for free. It works on Windows, normally Windows, Mac OS also it will be working, and Linux systems, and works in many types of attacks, including simple brute force attack, dictionary attack, and hybrid attack. Next one is THC Hydra. THC Hydra cracks passwords of network authentications. It performs dictionary attacks against more than 30 protocols, including HTTP, FTP, file, that means file transfer protocol, telnet applications. Okay. Next, John the Ripper. This is a free password tracking tool that was developed for Unix systems. It is now available for 15 other platforms, including Windows, OpenVMs, and DOS. John the Ripper automatically detects the type of hashing used in a password so that it can be run against encrypted password storage. So John the Ripper. Next, LOPHT crack. LOPHT crack is used in simple brute force, dictionary, hybrid, and rainbow tables attack to crack window passwords. Okay, so these are the things they have used, tools. How to protect against brute force attack? What are the methods? In how many ways we can protect our data from the brute force attackers? Use multi-factor authentication. When users are required to offer more than one form of authentication, such as both a password and a fingerprint, or a password and a one-time security token, a brute force attack is less likely to succeed. Sometimes we are opening the net banking, they will use one-time password, right? So the one-time password will come to our mobile. So if the particular person is keeping the mobile, means it's fine. Okay, so that's purpose one-time password will be coming to our mobile. So we can use multi-factor authentication. This is the fingerprint, biometric. We can use all these ways. Not only one way, we can use so many ways. We have to keep our information safe. For that, we have to encrypt the data. We have to give password. We have to give fingerprint, biometric. What are the possible ways to secure our data there? We have to provide all the possible ways. When users are required to offer more than one form of authentication, authentication means security, such as both a password and a fingerprint. We can keep both password and fingerprint, or a password and one-time security token. We can use multi-factor authentication. Then the brute force attackers is less likely to succeed. They can't able to succeed. If you are keeping password and fingerprint means sometimes they will hack the password. They got the password, but fingerprint is not able to identify for them. Sometimes they can able to hack the fingerprint also. At that time they can't able to get the passwords. So we have to keep our data multi-factor authentication. So these are the ways we have to protect our data. Next one, implement IT hygiene. That means gain visibility into the use of credentials across the environment and record password to be changed regularly. So while net banking also, they keep on asking every 3 months, change the password, change the password. So don't keep the same password for long time. So it's better to change the password regularly. That is the another way of securing our data from brute force attackers. Implement IT hygiene. That means gain visibility into the use of credentials across the environment and record password to be changed regularly. We have to keep on changing the passwords regularly. Okay, next one, set up policies that rejects weak password. We have to set the policy that should reject the weak password. While opening the net banking also, you can see if you are giving some weak password means they will reject our password. They won't accept our password. So we have to set the policies that should be like that. Set up policies that rejects weak password. See, longer passwords are not always better. Sometimes we will keep the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What is the use of that longer password? No use. If you are keeping the numbers continuously, no use of keeping the longer password. What really helps is to require a mix of upper and lower case letters mixed with special characters. That only really helps. Educate users on best password practices such as avoiding adding 4 numbers at the end and avoiding common numbers such as those begins with 1 or 2, providing a password management tool to prevent users from resorting to easily remembered password, and use a discovery tool that exposes default passwords on devices that haven't been changed. So we have to encourage the users to use uppercase, lowercase, special characters. So these are the things we have to suggest to the users to use the passwords. Then keep it. So if I keep the long password, then it is safe. We won't think like this. Keeping the long password A B C D E F G H. So this is also not safe. Now keeping long password doesn't matter, but keeping how we are keeping it the passwords. And also try to avoid, most of the persons will write 1 2 then password, then at the last they will provide their years, date of birth of year, otherwise graduation they got these years. So avoid these is also. Longer passwords are not always better. What really helps is to require a mix of upper and lowercase letters mixed with the special characters. Educate users on best password practices such as avoiding and adding 4 numbers at the end and avoiding common numbers such as those beginning with 1 or 2. Provide a password management tool to prevent users from resorting to easily remembered passwords, and use a discovery tool that exposes default passwords on devices that haven't been changed. Next one, implementing proactive threat hunting. Threat hunting can expose the types of attacks that standard security measures can miss. If a brute force attack has been used to successfully enter a system, a threat hunter can detect the attack even though it's operating under the guise of legitimate credentials. We have to implement proactive threat hunting. So if any threats are there, we have to, for example, security purpose, if you are opening the Gmail, it will ask the questions, right? It will give some numbers. So someone is opening our mail means some messages will come to some new device has logged into your system, something into your account, some messages has come to our mobile phone or some our Gmail services. That is implement proactive threat hunting. We have to use that way also. Next, CAPTCHA. How the CAPTCHA? So CAPTCHA we all know. For example, if you are doing some net banking also, there is a CAPTCHA. So what is the use of the CAPTCHA? Have you thought of CAPTCHA anywhere, anybody, anywhere else? So why this CAPTCHA is there? What is the purpose of CAPTCHA? Actually, the purpose of CAPTCHA is, so the brute force attack, mainly CAPTCHA is used in brute force attack. What we have studied brute force attack, they are using some automated tools also. Automated tools, what they will give, they will generate lots of passwords in a milliseconds. In a second, they will generate lots of password and they are trying. So for avoiding this only, we are for security purpose, they are keeping CAPTCHA. If they are keeping CAPTCHA means what will be happening? If it is human means we will provide the particular data. That means CAPTCHA can be mathematical CAPTCHA, something like that, right? So we will provide the calculation purpose, but the automated tools can't be able to do the CAPTCHA. So for avoiding the automated tools only, the CAPTCHA should be there. So many times I have seen the CAPTCHA, but I thought why the CAPTCHA should be there. I am going to copying the same thing only. So whatever under the CAPTCHA, we are going to copy the same thing. But this is the actual use of the CAPTCHA to prevent the automated system, automated tools that are generating thousands of password in a second. For avoiding this, we are using their CAPTCHA. So look at the definition here. CAPTCHA is a type of challenge response system designed to differentiate humans from robotic software programs. So mainly the CAPTCHA is designed to differentiate humans from robotic software programs. CAPTCHAs are used as security checks to deter spammers and hackers from using forms on web pages to insert malicious or frivolous code. How CAPTCHA works? CAPTCHAs are a kind of Turing test. Quite simply, end users are asked to perform some task that a software but cannot do. Tests often involve JPEG or GIF images because while boots can identify the existence of image by reading source code, they cannot tell what the image depicts because some CAPTCHA images are interpreted. Types of CAPTCHAs are there: math, 3D, super CAPTCHA, marketing. These are the CAPTCHAs. So we have seen brute force attack, how the brute force attack trying possible keys. So alternative keys also there, then automation tools. These are the brute force attackers will do. Okay, so to avoid the brute force attack, we are using CAPTCHAs also. That's all about CAPTCHAs and disadvantages and advantages of CAPTCHA. Advantages: the prevention of spam from automated programs that could send emails, commands, or advertisement. The prevention of fake registration or sign-ups for website. Most people know CAPTCHAs are so visitors to a website will automatically understand what they are tasked to do. CAPTCHAs are also easy to implement in building a website. Disadvantages: CAPTCHAs are not foolproof and can only limit spam. Can be time consuming or annoying to end users. To some people, CAPTCHAs may be challenging to read. Websites using CAPTCHAs may notice traffic decrease due to difficulty or annoyance from the end user. So thank you. These are about the brute force attacks.